If you enjoy listening to inspirational stories from people just like us, facing the fear and doing it anyway, then you're in the right place. My name is Claire Hill, and this is the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Hello everyone, it's episode 7. I'm Claire Hill, your host. Episode 7. I have been thinking about doing a podcast for so long, and the fact that I'm now on episode 7, I was so scared about doing it as well, shitting my pants. And now it's just like, you know that feeling when you first do your first tax return, anyone that's self-employed, and you shit your pants because you think that there's some imaginary tax return person looking over your shoulder, and you're so scared that you're going to do something wrong. That's how I felt when I started this podcast. And then now I feel fine about it. I hope you're all enjoying it, by the way. But I do want to do a bit of a shout out, because obviously podcasts grow because people do reviews and people say that they love it. And so far I'm 5 out of 5 on ratings. Thanks everyone for doing their ratings. But someone's actually left me a review. I'm really sorry, but I don't know your name. Twarty Pants. Is that like 40 pants? I don't know, but Twarty Pants, whoever you are, you wonderful human being. This is what they've said. Claire's podcasts are a must to listen to. A must. They are down-to-earth chats with real people, with relatable content for small business or those with dreams to turn a hobby into a business. A great inspiration and full of so much energy. Love them. Well, Twarty Pants, let me just say that you've made me whole bloody year with that. Sorry, just dropped a box on the floor. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Twarty Pants. So if you would like to leave a review, I'm going to shout out all the reviews every episode because I'm just so very grateful. So this week is Christmas at Vivid Wire. You are going to be listening to this on the 21st of October. But if you are listening to this and you are in the creative business world, you know that Christmas basically starts in July. I had all the right intentions of being really organised, but then I decided to launch a podcast and my coaching business. So I have not been as organised as I was supposed to have been. But the collection is ready. Photos are being done tomorrow. Again, really last minute. Everything's going on the website. And then those of you who subscribe to my website should already have the email. It's gone out at 8 o'clock this morning, depending on when you're listening to this. This is actually published at midnight. So maybe you've already listening to this before you've got the email. Dedication, that is. So everybody can have access to the collection Thursday evening. But if you're on my newsletter, you get it. Yeah, I can't even speak. You get access to the collection Thursday morning. So I'm really excited actually, because I am a bit of a Christmas nut, and the 1st of November the Christmas tunes go on. Mariah Carey is obviously my favourite, but yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm really excited about the collection. I'm just looking at a piece now. The collection's called Glitter Me Quick. Do you know, when I think of it, last year the Christmas collection was called Last Christmas We Were Allowed Out, and you had to sing it as well, by the way. The year before, I don't think I did a name, but this year it's called Glitter Me Quick. And why not? Hey, let's get the glitter out. Biodegradable, of course. So I hope you enjoy listening to this episode. I better tell you about it. This week, I spoke to my wonderful friend Mel from Little Terraced House. She runs a really successful DIY influencer brand. I think that's how you would describe it. She's a whiz with DIY and has inspired me to do more DIY in my house. DIY is not just for men, and I know we know that anyway, but she really is holding the torch for women to do as much DIY as possible. My husband thinks that I'm no good at DIY, even though I'm incredibly creative. He doesn't think I'm any good at it. To be fair, he is better, but that's because I don't get a chance to practice. So Mel has inspired me to be a better DIYer. All of the details of how to find out more information about Mel and her blog and her Instagram and her Home Creators Club are all in the show notes. So please go and visit her and follow her, because honestly, her reels, her DIY reels, I was going to say DIY wheels then, DIY reels on Instagram are really good. And she's on TikTok too. She's pretty cool. And I did used to go to school with her. So she's actually a real life person that I've actually met in real life. It's wonderful. You'll notice at the end we talk about a book club. We may be launching a book club. I'm not going to say any more than that. So enjoy listening. I hope you have a wonderful week and weekend, and check out the before I go, I always have my friend Bex in my ear. Please check out my Patreon. I don't think I've got any patrons yet, and that's absolutely fine. It's just there. But if you want to buy me a cup of coffee or a little glass of fizzy water to encourage me to do this podcast for longer and get really good content for you all, then have a look. I appreciate it. So without further ado, I'm going to stop wanging on now. And here's the episode with Mel. Hi, Mel.
Hello. Nice to see you and hear you.
It's so lovely to see you. Hi, all the podcast listeners.
How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
Very well. Looking forward to our chat.
Is this the first podcast you've done?
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
Popping my podcast cherry.
Oh, lovely, with me. Oh, it's such an honour.
Yeah, so be gentle.
Oh, I will. I mean, I'm no pro. I'm no pro, but I'll be gentle with you, babe. So what's your name and where do you come from and what do you do? Why have I asked you to be on?
So I'm Mel, and I'm from Rochester, so geographically from the Medway towns, which is how I know you.
Big up the Medway.
School together. But social media wise, I'm Little Terraced House, and that's my blog and Instagram that's sort of documenting renovation and DIY and all things home and interiors. And then I have another one which is called Home Creators Club, and that's for people like me who are kind of content creators, stroke influencers, in the kind of home niche and a bit of a community and running courses and things like that for how to get into that sector.
Amazing. And we do, before we go into all of the reasons why I asked you to be on, because we went to school together. You're the only person I think I know from Fort Pitt in real life now, I think.
Oh, well, I feel honoured.
Well, I jumped ship, went to the boys' school. And
that's right.
Yeah, and I didn't see anybody else. Jumped ship.
We didn't have any boys at Fort Pitt. So, yeah, don't blame you. I stuck it out until the bitter end. But no, I know a few people from there. But I think you're probably one of the ones I actually see sort of. Yeah, online at least.
Yeah, I just love the fact that I was saying on another episode how many people I've had on the podcast that I've only met virtually, but I'm friends with them. It's so weird now, isn't it? You are friends with them, but that I have actually met you in real life. We've had dinner and all that, been out in real life. I know Mel, and then hadn't spoken to you for years because that's what happens with life. And then I follow somebody called Vicky, Little Savage Life. Can't remember the last bit.
Little Savage Life.
And she showed your face on her stories, and I was like, I know that girl. Hold on a minute. And then sort of went through, and I messaged her. I went to school with Mel. She said, yeah. She said because she'd had my dinosaurs, and you said to her. And anyway, and then I was like, hello. Remember me?
I know, how funny. What a small world. And actually, I've re-met a couple of other people from school also doing similar stuff, because it is a good space, isn't it, for small businesses, especially selling anything kind of artistic, because it's very visual, to showcase their stuff. And because I'm doing home interiors kind of things, that's how you end up coming across these people again, because it's like home decor. And that's funny world, small world.
And then we just message and voice note all the time now.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really
the social side of social media. And it shows that it's not a bad place, that it's a good place.
No, exactly. So how did it all, I mean, you've got a lovely following and you've got a successful blog and a successful Instagram and social media career, I suppose, in that sense. Where did it all start? How did it get on there?
Like a lot of people, by accident, really, in the sense that I'd just bought my first house with my partner and was really excited about doing it up and obviously doing lots of decorating, and it was a bit of a fixer-upper, so, you know, DIY stuff. And I was taking lots of pictures and putting it on my personal Instagram, and just aware that I was probably boring friends a bit. So I thought, oh, well, I'll set up a separate one and have it as a personal log of, you know, a record of what we've done, like an online photo album, I suppose.
Yeah.
And from there, then people started following me. And then I realized like other people were doing this. And actually, it was a bit of a community. And, you know, I got chatting to other people who were doing similar stuff. And it just sort of grew from there, really. And I ended up really enjoying the chatter side of it and going to a few meetups. You've obviously got something in common with these people because you're all doing the same sort of thing. So you always have something to talk about. And, you know, it's like when you live in London and there's people all around you, but you don't know anyone. It's actually quite hard to make friends in a big city like that. So it was quite a nice way to also meet people doing similar stuff locally. And I've actually made some pretty good friends out of it who live around.
So when was that? When did you start the Instagram then?
2018. So I've been doing it for a few years. We bought the house in 2017. So started it about 6 or 8 months after buying the house. And it's just sort of steadily grown from there, really. And it all kind of boomed a bit last year, the home interiors side of things, and people having home interiors accounts, because everyone over lockdown was stuck inside their house and just saw all the stuff that was wrong. So you saw loads of people start these types of accounts last year, and the community's really grown from there.
And what's special about your Instagram is, and as you know, you have inspired me to do a few things I say that in my mind, you've really inspired me to do a lot, but they haven't happened yet. But the 1 hour lunch times and that kind of element of your Instagram where you are helping people to learn a new skill or learn how to do something in their house, that's quite a unique selling point with your profile, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something that a lot of people have said that they like about the account, is that obviously I work full time, so the stuff that I'm doing, I'm fitting in around my full-time job. Also got a toddler and, you know, just general life. So I do a little bit here and there, and I think it then stops it being overwhelming for people if they can see the process and see realistically how long these things will take, and actually that you don't need to have lots of really top-notch DIY skills to be able to do things. Because there's some fantastic DIY accounts that I love following, but they do these things that I think, oh God, I couldn't do that. So I do try and keep it fairly basic, to be honest, so that you know that anyone can do it without chopping your fingers off or something. It's
intimidating. It's not intimidating, but there's enough challenge there to inspire you to do it. So you want to have a go at it, but it's not too intimidating to think I'll never be able to manage it.
Yeah, and I enjoy doing this sort of creative stuff, and I think sometimes it has, you know, I put some things out there that people think, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that, but it's actually really straightforward. Like I added some lead to window film to make it look more like it was stained glass with just the stick on lead, and people like, I've never thought of that, because I suppose you wouldn't really. It's only, my mum's a stained glass artist, so she was like, oh, you could put some lead around it. Yeah, that's a good idea. And you know, there's little updates that you can make around the house that don't cost a lot and can really make quite a big difference. And that's the stuff that I like doing. And I'll give most things a go. The thing is with my house, especially the kitchen renovation, it couldn't have looked any worse. So you can kind of have a go at it, and if it doesn't go right, it doesn't really matter, because it still looks like the Fight Club house anyway.
Well, I tell you, with your kitchen renovation, that's as you know, that's my I'm on it. I'm not allowed the reason I'm going to start the kitchen is my husband said I'm not allowed to start the kitchen until all the other odd jobs in the house are done. They're, to be fair, his responsibility, so he needs to get them done. So he's much better at decorating. That he's not, doesn't really let me get near it. But I've said I'm doing the kitchen. I want to get the hairdryer on the cabinet on those bloody doors, and I'm going to repaint it. And I'm like, when I was ill the other week, I was tagging you because I was like, so I'm going to do this. This is all inspired by Mel, and I'm so excited about it. But what's really good about your kitchen renovation is that you showed, like, when you slightly messed up putting the thing on
the vinyl on the worktop,
and you show, like, this is what I've done wrong, but this is how I'm going to fix it. And it's just so authentic and transparent in your approach to it.
Yeah, and I think that's actually really important, because the thing is, things do go wrong, and especially if you are doing DIY stuff and you're documenting it, and you've got a lot of people following you, people are going to copy that. And I think you need to be transparent when things go wrong, because otherwise people are just going to mess up their houses and be like, hang on, you said this worked.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. Like, another one that a lot of people have done recently, and I gave it a go. In hindsight, I've done enough science in my life to know this would work, but I spray painted the plug.
I remember, yeah.
And to match the tap. And I said to Ollie, look, I'll just give it a go. Ollie's my partner. So I'll give it a go. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. Just come off, or we can just replace it. And it lasted for literally about a week before it all started coming away. And I thought, I've seen loads of people doing this, and I bet they're the same. And no one else has said it didn't work. So you just got to say it doesn't work. Otherwise, people be spray painting everything left, right, and centre, and being really cross when it doesn't stay.
You like doing that though, like in your little green room, you did it. How did those plugs stay?
I do. Yeah, those are fine. The problem with the tap is with the plug is that it's in constant contact with water, so it's just not suitable.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a special type of paint that you can get for that kind of thing, but your average spray paint, and I did prime it, and I sanded it down and primed it and used spray paint and then put lacquer on it. So I did as much of the process as you possibly can, but it just doesn't work. And many more people are grateful for the fact that I said it doesn't work than would be for me showing them something that's spray painted and give them an idea that's ultimately doomed to fail.
Yeah, there's a couple of other, I'm just thinking as well, obviously I watch your stories every day, but when you went through the roller coaster of deciding whether that green was actually the right green for the garden room, and it was like sunlight, it looks like this, in the cloud it's not like this, and it was like and ahhing, and how you go through that process of, and the paint in the hall where you changed that when you changed your floor, and also that process. I mean, obviously I'm reeling them off now, but that process of, is this the right decision? And I know when you were looking at your floor, so for people that don't know, Mel had all your normal floorboards up and reconditioned all the ones, the original ones underneath, didn't you? And put the stain on. And at one point you were like, is this too dark? I'm not sure. And that point where you're like, have I made the right decision? This is a really big investment and I'm not quite sure. But showing all of that process, and my favorite out of all of these that you've shared, and by the way, everyone, she's got them all on reel, so you can go back and like, they're not just in her stories. I don't know if you probably got highlights, but when the ceiling fell down.
Oh God, yeah, that was awful. I mean, it's
just like the store. I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, "Oh my God, poor Ollie!" Because it fell on him, didn't it?
Ollie, yeah. And I've been to work, like my actual office job, about 4 times in the last year, and it was one of the days I was in the office, and he just sent me this photo on WhatsApp of himself covered in century-old plaster, looking upset. And it was like, oh my God, this is a disaster. Not so much because the ceiling had fallen down. I mean, it happens and he was fine. But we had just spent about 1,500 quid having the ceiling rose restored. I thought, oh my God, I'm literally watching my money crumble. But actually, that was great because it turned out that we could just have the ceiling basically stapled back together. And the chap who restored the ceiling rose was the guy who then came round to fix the ceiling, because he follows me on Instagram now as well. And he saw this story that I put up and he immediately sent me a message and said, I'm going round. I'm going to go round.
Bless him.
within about 10 minutes, because he lives in Croydon as well, where I live, and within about 10 minutes he'd arrived at the house and told Ollie it was all going to be okay, and basically that he would come back and put it all back together. But he's really specialist in that, in this period plasterwork, and he said that it happens a lot that people's chunks of ceiling fall down. So I mean, for us it was about 1 meter square had come away, but it was not a fair chunk. Whole ceiling. It was a big chunk, but it's only the bottom layer of the plaster. And he says it happens all the time, and they'll be told that they need to bring the whole ceiling down and replaster. And you would believe it, wouldn't you? If you're just falling down. Yeah. And actually you don't. You can pretty much just staple it. It's obviously not a staple, but it's, you know, that's the kind of process. Staple it back together, skim over it, and you'd never know. And he said it would be good for another 10 years minimum. And that cost us, well, in fact, he wasn't going to charge us because he'd done the ceiling rows and he was just going to kind of tag it on, but we insisted on paying. But it only cost us a couple of £100, as opposed to probably £2,000 plus to do the whole ceiling. So it was, you know, that kind of thing. I wasn't delighted that our ceiling fell on Ollie, obviously, but in a way, if you're running an account to try and show people what to do in these situations, it's kind of good. Because no one would have thought that you can repair a ceiling that's fallen like that. No. And actually, he said it's actually really easy and it happens a lot. And 9 times out of 10, you can just patch it up.
Imagine how much money you've saved people by watching that.
I hope so. But also, from my perspective, because I absolutely love restoring those original features, so many people will be pulling down their ceilings with all the original ceiling roses and coving on them, and they don't need to. They could just repair it.
Is that passion for restoring those features, is that where the blog, because obviously you've got your blog as well, is that where that came from? Because you're documenting how beautiful it is to restore those features. Where did it come from?
Yeah, I think so. I've wanted to have a blog for a long time, and I could never quite think of what to write it on. It's a nice hobby to have, isn't it? It's a bit of a chance to write. It's quite creative. My day job isn't creative at all, and I wanted to document what we were doing in the house, and so it came from there. And it is because I see other people doing similar things. It's nice to be talking to similar people, because there's loads of blogs out there that are written by professionals, and I read those blogs and I find them very useful. But sometimes it's nice to read something that's written by someone who's like you, and know, you know. So in my blogs, I say how long these things are likely to take, or I kind of try and cost them, or I try not to use tools and things like that are just, you know, you don't know what this stuff is, and you're going to have to spend £500 buying some kit before you even get to do the DIY, because that's not particularly helpful for people either, is it? Most people don't have a workshop that they can do all this stuff in. So it kind of came from that, really.
Yeah, and that was reminded me about your views on primer and your wardrobes and your scratch test thing that you did.
I know. Well, that's the other thing. I think on Instagram especially, you get these trends for all sorts of things, obviously. I mean, that's where trends come from. It used to be magazines and stuff, now it's Instagram. But some things baffle me, and primer is one of them, because for most substrates you don't need to spend a fortune on primer, but there are so many people who buy the most expensive tin of primer and then colour match their paint, and it blows my mind. I just think it's like wearing your really, really nice underwear and chucking on a Primark coat that you bought in the charity shop. Don't get me wrong, it might be a nice coat, look all right, but just wear your Primark pants and a really lovely coat from Hobbs. That's the same thing. So it's, I really sparked like a debate on this. I do prime things, but there's just a real kind of, it's a snobbery on Instagram amongst DIYers that you have to use specific products for specific things, and most of the time you don't. You can usually use something pretty pretty cheap for that sort of stuff. Like MDF, you don't need to prime it with some fancy pants primer, and in fact it probably won't even work very well. You're much better off just getting like a PVA wash on it. But or that's what I think anyway, obviously it's my opinion. But yeah, it's all fun, isn't it? I just try and keep it a bit real, really. What works for me won't work for everyone else, of course. But yeah, I do like to put the process up so people can actually see it happening.
Yeah, and that is the key. And I'm talking again, I know I'm talking from a personal point of view. I don't enjoy DIY. I do not. No, let me tell a lie. I do enjoy building things. So give me a flat pack, or give me a drill. I'm all about that and building something up. But painting and preparing a wall, oh God, it makes me feel sick even thinking about it. But
yeah, it's boring.
It's so boring, and I'm very impatient. However, the progress that you show, I think that's what it is. It's showing the most impatient of us, so you can see an impact in what DIY you've done in a very short amount of time. So that hour DIY, I really set myself that challenge of doing like painting my brown tiles in my kitchen. We really, really want to have a whole brand new kitchen, but that costs an arm and a leg and 4 horses or whatever. So we're going to wait out for that.
Yeah.
But until that time, how can we improve what we've got? And why I didn't even, when you like buy something and you're just living in it, I didn't even see that I had brown tiles. And then one day I was like, oh my God, I've got like not nice brown tiles, like 80s weird brown tiles. I thought I can paint those. And then Dan wouldn't let me. He started. And then I was like, no, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to do my lunch hour DIY, put a timer on and painted. And it was wonderful because by the end of the day, and not only had I finished my work, and obviously a lot of us now are working from home, and you do have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
But I'd done my day's work and I'd made an impact to my house. And that's what's really special about it.
And if you only do an hour a day, it doesn't become, you don't become like resentful towards it, and it doesn't become boring. It's just literally an hour out of your day. You can whack a podcast on whilst you're doing it, and it's quite therapeutic for a short period of time. It's a nice break away from the computer if you're doing a computer-based job, and it does show that it's doable, especially for people who don't really love those kind of things or just don't have a lot of time, which is most of us. It shows that you can fit it in to a short space of time. And the thing is, a lot of prep things you can get away with not doing all of these things. Like you're talking about your kitchen renovation, you don't need to have the most perfect finish in the world because it's not going to last you forever. It just needs to look as good as you want it to look. People just wear it like a badge of honor doing all the prep stuff, but you don't need to do prep for prep's sake. Just do the things that you need. Some people really thrive on it and genuinely enjoy doing it, so that's fair enough. But you won't find me masking taping around skirting board. There's no point in a Victorian house anyway because it's all bumpy. Just paint it. Your
natural skills. You did a lot of art when you were, you can
That's true.
paint.
I am a good painter generally, and I am artistic, so I suppose I do have a steady hand, and also I have the confidence to do it. So it's not just about having the ability, but like my other half, for example, hadn't ever picked up a paintbrush, I don't think even in an art class before we came to the house, and it would freak him out that I would just kind of paint things without protecting underneath. But it is confidence, isn't it? And I do know about paint, and I suppose it's easy to forget that. So if masking tape gives you a bit of comfort, go ahead and use your masking tape.
Yeah, but don't ever leave frog tape on too long. That's
that's
my biggest. That I've made that mistake. Well, I say I've made that mistake. Dan has made that mistake, and then you peel it off.
Yeah, and it's better I find sometimes if you de-stick it a little bit on your jeans, because you can buy all these different colours of frog tape, can't you? But it's just masking tape at the end of the day.
Yeah, I know.
And the one that's gentle is just slightly de-stuck.
Yeah,
just use your jeans. But you're meant to paint over it in the colour that's underneath first, and then in your top coat colour, and then peel off when it's slightly wet. Otherwise, you might get a bit of peeling.
Yeah,
if you're doing your colour blocking.
Yeah.
But but Instagram's great for that kind of thing, isn't it? Especially now you've got reels and stuff, because people are always putting up tips. And
you had one on this week, didn't you?
The easiest ones. Yeah.
Your mirror one, I love that.
That's the ultimate Instagram hack. I think I learned it originally on Instagram a few years ago, but you just, you put a bit of masking tape over your screw holes on the back of a shelf or picture or mirror or whatever, draw them on the masking tape, stick that up on the wall and drill through it. And it's one of those things that you think that's so obvious.
Yeah.
And how, you're struggling trying to mark out the distances between all your screw holes and things like that. And those little hacks can save you so much time. And actually it meant that I could put up a mirror in my lunch hour, whereas that's the sort of thing that would have taken me absolutely ages before to try and get it straight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like Instagram for that kind of thing. It's doable chunks.
Yeah. And that's it. It's easily digestible and feels good once you've digested it and actually done it. I was just thinking that masking tape thing, I've totally forgot, but we used that same trick to install the wire words in my bedroom. So I need to do a reel of installing wire words with masking tape.
Yeah,
there you
definitely. Go. And actually, reels are really great for that kind of thing because I just filmed it on my Instagram Reels, app. I didn't film it in advance, just as I went. And I thought, if it looks rubbish, doesn't matter. I'll put it up. And the timings aren't quite right. But so many people have not known about it and said, "Oh, this is really helpful." You think, yeah, why not? Not everything has to be perfect, does it, on Instagram? I think sometimes it can look a bit too polished. Exactly. And it's nice to be a bit rough around the edges. We like a bit rough around the edges.
Yeah, we're definitely rough around the edges. But done is better than perfect. And that's, I think, perfection holds so many people back from doing something or making progress. And you just have to bite the bullet. And the more that you push yourself to go through that perfection barrier, the more progress you make anyway. I think perfection is non-existent. It doesn't exist. And so you're waiting around to get things that perfect, and you're going to be waiting a really, really long time. So you've now, you work with other brands now, or you work with brands to advertise their products or their subscriptions and stuff like that. Do you remember the first thing of how you got into monetizing your blog and your Instagram, where you first started?
Yeah, I mean, so I quickly made friends in the sort of interiors community, and I went to a meetup not long after I'd started, and met more kind of seasoned influencers, if you like, there who were already doing this kind of thing. Got chatting to them, realised it was the way that you could get money from it. And the first one I got was with Cuprinol, the outdoor paint from Dulux, and it was because a friend, well, actually they had contacted me, but I'd misunderstood it and I'd sort of ignored it because I didn't really know how these things worked back then. And then a friend of mine was also working with them, and she said, "Oh, you should really do this, and it's a paid gig as well." I remember her saying, "It's a paid gig." So I contacted him again. I was like, "Oh, actually, yes, maybe I'm interested after all." and did a few posts for them, and it was really nice. And it was, I actually really enjoyed putting the content together and then sort of seeing that people actually were being influenced by the sort of thing that I did. Yeah, because that's always a worry. I think you get this imposter syndrome really easily. You worry, particularly if you're doing an advert, that no one will buy the thing that you're recommending, and you're just going, it's all going to be a big waste of money for the brand and everything. But actually, they do their homework, and they wouldn't work with you in the first place if they didn't think that you would, pay for them. So it just came from there, really. And from actually talking to people, everyone's just like you at the end of the day. So actually, if someone were to send me a message and say, "Oh, I saw that you worked with this brand, how did you do that?" I would be happy to answer that question and and help and give people advice. And that was what happened for me as well. So my friends who were a bit more advanced at the time gave me the support and advice to push ahead with it.
Amazing. Really nice. And that's where your Home Creators Club has sort of been born from, I suppose, and sharing that knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Because influencer marketing is still a really new area, especially in this country as opposed to the States, and actually it really boomed last year because of the lockdown and people not being able to go out. and brands not being able to access their usual spaces for producing adverts. They obviously couldn't go to location houses, and they couldn't hire photographers and things like that because no one was allowed to mix. And so having people like me at home with everything that they need there, all they need to do is send you a product, you take some pictures of it, and it's job done. You're doing all the roles in one. So it really boomed, particularly for how, for the home niche. And yeah, so from that, I wanted other people to start getting paid for what they were doing, also realised that they could do it. And so I set up Home Creators for people in home niche to have a sort of a space to talk about those kind of things, because it's still a bit of a grey area. No one really knows what to charge, because it's not like we've gone to university and learnt about this. It's not like there's some pay grade scale that that you should be charging and so on. And the thing is, brands don't mind paying, but if you don't ask them to pay you, they're not going to necessarily throw the money at you. If you're kind of happy to produce the content for free, then they're not going to argue with that either. So it was to make people aware of that, and to support each other really in making it a bit more transparent, but also like best practice, because you don't want to be, not declaring ads properly, not necessarily on purpose, but quite often people don't understand the rules around that, or they don't understand the tax implications and that kind of thing. So it's all about being a bit more open.
Yeah. And that. I learnt from you about the gift, because you said something on there about said something on your stories about how you have to declare gifts, and I just blew my mind about the monetary value of it. I mean, I don't get gifts at all, really. I've got a couple, but but actually being transparent enough to understand that is income. Yeah. Well, not transparent, but you are transparent in that approach. I think there's less. Again, that's another unique selling point for you, that you are very transparent about your processes, and that you will talk about how you will ask for what you feel you are worth, because it's not an easy thing. Though you enjoy it, it's still work that you are doing for a brand when you are creating that advert for them.
Yeah, especially DIY stuff. It's not, I think, people, there can be a sort of snootiness about it. Oh, you're getting something for free, you should just be grateful. Not from brands, but from other people. But actually, if you're doing a DIY project, it can take hours or days, or some of the ones I did over summer literally took months because of rain and whatnot. So yeah, definitely, you would expect to be paid for that, wouldn't you, if you were in any other industry, especially if brands are actually making money out of it, which I know they are, because you have insights and so on in Instagram. You can tell who's clicked on links, and they will be able to tell what things have sold. So yeah, everyone should be having a piece of the pie. I think
there's enough to go around as well.
There is
so much. Yeah. And so from the Home Creators Club, you recently did a course that was more specific in is that the same thing, or is the Home Creators Club is a face group?
So that's basically my kind of coaching side of it, if you like. That's what I've called the coaching stuff, just to separate it slightly from my own blog. But I ran a course for people who've recently, or not necessarily recently, but started up their home interiors accounts and would like to monetize and just don't really know how to go about it. Because when I started, I would have really liked to have something like that. I just didn't really understand how it all worked. So that was the purpose of the course. It gives me the chance to sort of sit down with people, my group, once a week, take them through the whole thing, what they can be doing to improve their engagement and so on, and then how to actually deal with brands and how to sort of turn this into a career, basically.
Yeah, I love that you sort of, your skills from being a solicitor have sort of transferred very nicely into that, I think, with your sort of negotiation and I've
always been confident enough professionally anyway, to hold my own, I suppose, because in my day job you really have to be, even if you don't feel confident, you definitely need to come across as confident. And that's what a lot of it is. I think the reason why a lot of people who have home accounts and are producing really beautiful content aren't making money, it's purely down to a mindset and just needing to have a bit more confidence in yourself. And I've already had some messages from people on there saying, oh, I did what you said, I risked it, and actually I'm getting paid now.
Oh, wow.
I wish you'd done it 2 years ago, but well done.
Yeah.
Because it's only because they haven't asked previously that the brand hasn't paid them. It's not because they're the big bad wolf and they're trying to get out of it. It's just if you don't ask, you don't get. And actually, if you do ask and you go about it in the right way, then, it can pay off. Not every time, but definitely some of the time.
Yeah, of course. But you're better off if you're asking something than if you're not.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. So do you have future plans for the blog at all and the Instagram account? Have you got like DIY projects lined up to show?
I haven't put anything on the blog for ages. I've been so busy with all the course stuff. But I've got about 10 half-written blogs to be published. And I'm definitely going to be doing more of that, especially now that we're getting into the cold weather. There won't be outdoorsy stuff to do because I'm not an outdoors person when it's cold. And not much of an outdoors person when it's warm, to be honest. But, so I'm going to carry on doing that, and I'm going to carry on building Home Creators Club and working on my courses and things like that as well. And just seeing where it takes me. Really, it's just enjoying it.
And with you, I'm really surprised you said you're not outdoorsy, because you absolutely love plants. Like you adore.
I do like doing my garden, but I'm a fair weather gardener. I don't really like going out there in the winter. My garden looks awful in the winter. So this year, because it's been so wet and a bit miserable over summer, it's looking a bit jungle-esque out there actually. But I do like doing a bit of gardening here.
Because weren't you on Gardener's World? Is that why Vicky had your picture?
Yeah, it might have been. A lot of people shared that, didn't they? Yeah, because we built bin shed. That's what I'm famous for on Instagram. Bins. Can you believe? I've invested thousands of pounds in creating a beautiful house, and I'm known for my bins.
They are beautiful,
a living roof bin shed, and that was what went on Gardener's World on one of those home videos. My mum told me to do it, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to get on it, mum, but I'll do it for you, no problem. And actually, me and Ollie had a row before I did it, so I need you to film me. And he was busy doing something unimportant like his job. And then he did come down to help, and I was like, it's not sunny enough now. It really is. It's still sunny, and it was. And so I did it. But I looked really cross in sections of it. And so when they've edited it, they've actually edited it really well, because they've taken out all the bits of me looking pissed off.
Brilliant.
We couldn't believe it. My dad happened to be staying for the weekend that it came on. And we were watching Gardener's World, and they were like, oh, there you are. It's really funny. Yeah, so that's my claim to fame.
Brilliant.
Gardener's World.
Love it. Absolutely love it. If you could give yourself some advice 10 years ago that you know now that you wish you'd known 10 years ago, what would it be? Do you know what I mean? I need
probably
to
invest in Instagram.
Some stocks.
Financial advice aside, I think just, it's a bit cliche, but I think probably to just not try so hard when you're younger to be too much of a people pleaser, to just sort of stay true to the things that you believe in, and not feel like you need to be something else for people to like you, whatever. I think it took me quite a long time to be sort of completely comfortable in my own skin and happy with the person that I am. And funnily enough, as soon as I feel like I need to break into Whitney Houston's song now.
Go for it. Go on.
No,
Tamarind Casino.
I told you not to make me laugh.
Oh, sorry. I said I'm so funny, Mel. I can't help it. It just pours out of me.
So I think just kind of actually, as soon as I was more comfortable and more happy with me as I am, people also liked me more, or were more kind of I suppose I just didn't seem so fake like you can when you're in your 20s, when you're trying to be kind of the super cool person or whatever, which I never really was. And so I think that's what I would tell my younger self. If you don't feel like going out, just don't go out. Just stay in, have a pizza. And there we go. And invest in Instagram.
For being on.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's been absolutely amazing. Really loved it.
Thank you. No, it was my pleasure. I've had a very happy, fun time, and I'm looking forward to the book club. Whoop.
Yeah. Thanks, babe. Have a nice afternoon.
You take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the No Rest for the Vivid podcast, written, produced and hosted by Claire Hill, and music has been composed by my brother, Phil Vidler.